All right, and welcome to the Daily Space Weather. A regular feature, a recurring theme at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We've got some awesome stuff to cover as always today. And we'll be doing the Cosmic Ray Report. We'll be talking a little bit about one known cosmic ray source, one of the only known cosmic ray sources, and lots more as we typically cram into these videos. By the way, thanks to everybody who pressed thumbs up yesterday. We did not make it to 50 thumbs up, and so we did not stream live. If you want to see us stream live today, make sure you drop us a thumbs up. And there is a distinct possibility that we might actually do that. So this is the North Pole. We've got this huge plasma event happening here. There was a CME. Is it headed toward Earth? That's a coronal mass ejection if you're a new viewer out there. It's when a bunch of solar plasma leaves the corona and heads out into the greater solar system. We've also got a setting active region here in the northwest. A bunch of filaments associated with that as well. We've been naming filaments after living people on the Twitter feed. So make sure you join us all over the internet at Smash-O-Mash. Yes, Smash-O-Mash, our brand. Here is the southwestern limb. You can see the Hulk Hogan filament over here. It's quite large. It's quite in charge. Keep doing your exercises, taking your vitamins, and saying your prayers, brother. Some love going out to Hulk Hogan. Yeah, my favorite wrestler in like 1985. Yeah. There's your southeastern limb. Perhaps some more activity rising there. We do have another sunspot group that hasn't yet been named right up here. That'll be like 3,209 or something like that. And there's some more imagery of those filamentary, some collapse and some ejection. See some fast-moving filaments there showing up indeed. Let's show the full disk view here. That's 304 plus 193 angstroms for the past 24 hours from SDO. Let's take a look at some more SDO data here. Here is the SDO continuum imagery. And I'm sorry, that's SDO intensity gram. And a little bit of growth here. So it looks like another new sunspot group forming right up here in the... Yep, that's another group there. So we'll have two new named sunspot groups today. This one over here and this one here. May see a modest uptick in the radio flux, perhaps in the sunspot number as well. So we'll be watching those throughout the day. We'll be streaming them live to the Twitch channel, or maybe even to the YouTube channel later. So make sure you press that like button. That's SDO magnetogram yesterday plus today. And let's talk about cosmic ray sources. So these are the transient X-ray outputs from an object known as Cygnus X3. Now, Deneb is the tail of the swan in the constellation Cygnus, also known as Alpha Cygni. That star is the brightest star in the constellation. It's also the only known cosmic ray point source, and it's definitely a weird object. It is a more massive object, which is orbiting a less massive, huge star. So it's traveling at nearly the speed of light. Its orbital period is only about 4.8 hours, and the Wolf-Rayet star that Cygnus X3 is orbiting is about 150 times the size of the sun. So if it were in our solar system, you'd be inside of it. It's like the size of Mars's orbit. Yeah, the size of Mars's orbit. It's the third brightest X-ray source in the constellation Cygnus, hence the term X3. If you want to read more about it, you can head to the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory. You can always find it there. Just type in SIG space X-3. It's entry number 951. Those are the X-ray outbursts from it. We're covering it because Cygnus X3 is in an X-ray loud state right now. So if you see this line right here, you see this is 0.05. Right there. And on the historical graph, it's way up here near the top of its range. So it is in an X-ray loud state right now. So that's always interesting. And of course, this is, again, the only known cosmic ray point source. If you want to read more about that, You can look at it on Neil Gorell's page, Simbad. We'll bring you to this page. If you click on the CDS portal, you can look at various different wavelengths. So here is Cygnus X3, the little friend of the massive Wolf-Rayet star. And that thing is orbiting that star at a significant percentage of light speed, having to complete a thing larger than the size of Mars's orbit in only about 4.8 hours. So if that's not an interesting object, I don't know what is. It is the brightest intrinsic object, the star Deneb, the brightest intrinsic object visible from our solar system. So that's the Chandra data. We'll also show the XMM Newton data, a different X-ray scope. That is Cygnus X3, the little friend, orbiting the massive star. One of the jets from that massive object, Cygnus X3, is oriented directly toward Earth. It is a massive cosmic ray source. If you want to read more about that, head to smashomash.com/forum. In the cosmology forum, there is an entire thread about Cygnus X3. And of course, the distance to it is actually disputed. It's believed to be somewhere between about 8,000 and 37,000 light years. And it's a little bit hard to quantify because it has a jet that's oriented directly toward us, the viewer. And that makes it difficult to estimate the range. Anyway, if you want to read more about that, smashomash.com/forum. We're talking about it because it is the only known cosmic ray source. And it was discovered back in 1985, if you're wondering. Yeah, 1985. Because there is an underground mine that was detecting cosmic rays from Cygnus X3. Where's the info about that? So there's an image of the little friend orbiting the giant Wolf-Rayet star. Wolf-Rayet stars are very hot, bright stars. This one has about 10 times the output of the sun and about 10 times the brightness as well. It's super bright, super hot, and super active. So if you want to read about that, again, smashomash.com/forum. It's entirely free. And let's take a look at cosmic ray reports. So here's DOMB Antarctica, going as far south as we can get. And interestingly enough, it's been almost flat here over the past 30 days, despite some major solar activity. DOMB Antarctica showing flat for cosmic ray flux. At DOMC Antarctica, we're showing an uptick in cosmic ray flux. So check that out, a little uptick there at DOMC Antarctica. Going way up north to Oulu, seeing flat levels of cosmic ray flux at Oulu, Finland. So far flat to upward in terms of cosmic ray flux for the past 30 days. Let's go down to Mexico City next. There is the Mexico City Cosmic Ray Observatory, and a minor uptick there at Mexico City over the past 30 days. Let's go across the pond to Greece. Yeah, the Athens Neutron Monitor. And a slight downtick there at Athens. So cosmic rays here looking flat for the most part over the past 30 days. And let's go back up north to Apatity and Barentsburg to close out the cosmic ray section. So Apatity seeing a bit of an uptick there. Past 30 days, including one significant peak, quite a bit higher than where we currently are. And also Barentsburg showing a similar uptick for the past 30 days. That's our cosmic ray report. And next, let's see what's going on Crescent Earth. So we're going to cover earthquakes and volcanoes here. Here's volcanoes first, starting out the list with Kilauea. So great image there of Kilauea at nighttime, the Halema Uma'u lava lake there. So effusive eruption continues at Kilauea. The eastern lava lake started to crust itself during the morning of February 1st. And that is a prime example. Do not pole vault the caldera, folks. The Halema Uma'u lava lake is not safe for pole vaulting. Next, Popocatépetl exploding in central Mexico, flight level 200 over central Mexico from Popocatépetl explosive activity. 21,000-foot volcanic ash cone over Nevado del Ruiz as Nevado del Ruiz explodes in Colombia, flight level 210. Flight level 190 over Sangay in Ecuador. Flight level 230 over Cotopaxi in Ecuador. Both of those volcanoes exploding. Also Sabancaya in Peru exploding. Flight level 240. It's a 24,000-foot ash plume in Villarrica. After roughly 5 days with, quote, only and, quote, ash venting periods, a vigorous lava fountaining episode, so-called paroxysm, returned to the summit crater yesterday morning. Hot, fresh, and incandescent clasts were seen ejecting from the vent onto the upper western slopes of the edifice, accompanied by vividly illuminating steam emissions. Don't pole vault that caldera either. Also looking at earthquakes. Here's a brief rundown of the earthquakes of the past 24 hours. We'll be citing any that are over a 5 magnitude. The current situation is kind of low, not a lot of quakes here. Some that are over a 5 magnitude. And remember, folks, any earthquake can be a foreshock. So starting out here, an earthquake there in the Leeward Islands, that 5.0 near Guadalupe. Also, Alaska had a 5.0. Drop us a line in the comments if you felt that quake, and good morning to Tin Man 1057. Thanks for leaving a comment. Halmahera, Indonesia, also seeing a 5.0. 5.1 at Vanuatu. So a decent number of quakes there in a short period of time. After that, not a lot going on. A 4.8 in the Drake Passage. That's always interesting. And that's where we'll close out. Let's get back to space. But first, let's talk about the merch. By the way, you can save 20% on all of the merch here at the moment. So check it out. This is a re-release. One of our first pieces of merch ever. Smasher price, my first pandemic. Save 20% site-wide on all artists and all items. So we've got the Smasher Price My First Pandemic souvenir. You can congratulate your friends and foes on surviving a global scamdemic so far. We noticed some problems back in March of 2020 when the financial markets crashed, because financial markets don't forgive nor forget, and they do hold accountable. When gold and silver and crypto and equities and bonds and currencies all sold off at the same time, that was weird. It looked like it was engineered, and so we cited it. Apparently facts remain very, very dangerous. Watch out, folks. Our channel might produce some facts for you. Sorry about that. It's very, very dangerous. Pardon the dangerous idea, quote, dangerous ideas, end quote, pervading facts. Congratulations on surviving a global scamdemic so far. If you visit the links below the video or on the homepage, you'll find our products in order of best selling, which may or may not reflect the views of Smash News Network, least busted name of news. So don't get hung up on it. Some of the products are just there because people requested them. Other products are there because reasons. So lots of good reasons to cover what we cover on the channel. And if you'd like to support our efforts, become a patron perhaps. Better yet, become a member of the Smash Team at smashomash.com/Smash Team. It's our own subscription services site. We've already revealed the plausible explanation for the solar sunspot cycles to our gold level Smash Team members. So if you want to hear about that and help us write the paper, become a member of the Smash Team at the gold level. The best value is the annual paid up subscription level. Make sure you respond to Smash Staff's email so we can send you your complimentary merch. It's equivalent to having 4 months of a gold membership for free. Smashomash.com/Smash Team. And welcome back to space. Space, a frontier. These are the voyages of a series of facts that may or may not be unsettling to people who are based on propaganda. So the sun not shutting down, not looking anything like a grand solar minimum. You can keep chanting something over and over again, and while your cultists might agree with you, people citing facts probably won't. So this is 171 plus 335 angstroms. It shows great depth in the solar corona. And seeing a little lull in activity. Don't worry, folks. There are a lot of sunspots on the opposite side of the sun, most likely. Here we've subtracted 335 angstroms and added 131 angstroms. And let's blast through a bunch of data. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux has dropped down to 134 solar flux units. If you don't know what a solar flux unit is, well, I'll tell you right now. It's 10,000 joules of radial flux density. 134 is the current radial flux number for the 10.7. Discovered in 1947, the 10.7 centimeter radial flux was discovered by Canadian radio users who were messing around with some World War II radio equipment when they discovered the 10.7 centimeter radial flux, now known to be the most proportional data set to sunspot number. When you see lots of sunspots, you see a high radial flux, and when not, well, not. Radio jets, yeah, radio jets, they matter. And if you want to read about solar radio jets, become a gold member of the Smash team. We put up a post just 2 days ago about it. And let's take a look at the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard here, because there you go. No space weather storms, no geomagnetic unrest or storm conditions forecasted by NOAA. We have seen an increasing of the magnetic field here and some weak solar wind. We'll get to it in a moment. First, geomagnetism. The planetary K index is a measurement of global geomagnetism. We're currently at a KP 0.67. Geomagnetically calm conditions. And let's take a look at a visualization of Earth's magnetic moment from space out to about 12 Earth diameters. This is what's going on in terms of magnetohydrodynamic pressure. It is a low pressure environment for the past 4 hours. That's the time scale depicted in this imagery. We'll also show Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Ground magnetic perturbations are shown in nanotesla. That's magnetic flux density. This imagery will show you the most likely places to see the aurorae, also pipeline, railway, and power line induction. Just to reiterate, things are quite calm at the moment in terms of Earth's geomagnetism. Next, we'll look at the real-time solar wind. And we've seen a diminishing solar wind here since yesterday. Current conditions are solar wind speed about 350 kilometers per second. Make it 360. Solar wind density about 7.5 protons per cubic centimeter. Again, we do see the magnetic field rising there. Now up to 10 nanotesla. That's the top frame. The red number 6, that is the BZ, which is in positive territory, decreasing the amount of current induced by the incoming solar wind. We're also seeing kind of low highs and low lows in the past 24 hours for the GOES magnetometers. There are your GOES 16 and GOES 18 measurements from their geosynchronous orbits. And if you're a new viewer, the N's and M's, they stand for noon and midnight local time for the satellites. Let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet next. And as we remain in the South Pole, the South Heliographic Pole, you're here in the South Pole at the moment, as most of the sun's South Pole magnetism is oriented at the Earth. North Pole magnetism at the opposite side of the sun there, pointed out toward the gas giants, the part of the solar system where Earth is not. Anyway, there is a North Pole current sheet headed this way. Could be an indication we're about to see some more activity rise in the south, which it does indeed look like we are. And let's take a look at our line of sight field plot next. So here's our line of sight field plot. Solar magnetogram depicted here, as well as solar B field in blue, north solar polar field in green, south in red, and let's move to coronal holes. And we do have a North Pole-oriented coronal hole there, receding back up toward the solar equator. So that's interesting. See this green area right here? You're going to see this head back up toward the equator. Another indication that we are not at solar maximum. Because at solar maximum, you see basically no magnetism around the poles and coronal holes all around the equator. At the moment, we are not there yet. So wait for it. We'll cover it. Here's yesterday plus today in SDO 211 angstroms. So you may not be able to see this coronal hole receding back here, but there is a coronal hole like way up here now that is of North Pole orientation. All of these coronal holes are South Pole orientation. So that's what's going on in terms of coronal holes here. Let's move to sunspots, since coronal holes are perhaps even more important than sunspots in terms of analyzing solar cycles, because the solar polar field reversal process is more important than the sunspot number. Just citing some more facts for you, folks. Just citing some more facts. So again, we've got 2 new named sunspot groups that should get names at least. 3209 should be this one, and then there's another one right here that should be 3210. So we should have 2 new named sunspot groups. Let's take a look at those in some wavelengths here. Here is SDO continuum plus 171 angstroms. Again, there may be some more activity rising down here in the south. I would tend to agree based on what the top view ecliptic plane field plot looked like. Here is our continuum by itself, and let's zoom in on that. You will see a sunspot form right up here, as well as one grow up here. So we'll let that play through for you one more time and then blast through a lot more data. Proton flux here has settled back down to flatline. So we did see a minor increase there caused by some C-class flares on February 1st, starting at the month of February with some minor relativistic particle influx. There is your GOES X-ray flux over the past 24. We are seeing a little increase here. So a little increase in sunspot number, a little increase in the X-ray flux. We may be back to a C-class background output. Largest flare of the past 24 was this C-class flare at a 3.9, C3.9, coming in at 2:50 Universal Time this morning. And let's see if we can figure out where it came from. Down here, maybe? Let's subtract 304 angstroms. Maybe a little bit easier to see it in 131 angstroms by itself. Let's try 94 angstroms. That might be a little bit better. And I believe it came from this setting region up here in the northwest. Anyway, a little bit of sunspot growth here since yesterday. A minor solar uptick here, following a precipitous downtick, prompting a lot of people to start chanting grand solar minimum, grand solar minimum, grand solar minimum, as if that's going to make it come true. Next, looking at a star chart, there's the current situation over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. And if you look up to the northeast, you might find the most intrinsically bright object, not too far off the horizon. Right there, the constellation Cygnus and Alpha Cygni right there, the star Deneb. That is Cygnus X3 and the Wolf-Rayet star that it orbits. Its polar jet is directed directly toward you. And it is one of the only, if not the, I believe it is the only known cosmic ray point source, as they are pretty hard to determine. But Deneb is certainly one of them. That's the current situation over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Mercury having recently risen above the horizon. Next, we'll do a solar system forecast. Here's where things are. We've got a gibbous waxing moon here at the moment. We'll advance this 1 week. We will have a gibbous waning moon by then on February 10th, as Earth is moving to a very lonely side of the solar system. Venus is catching up, and Mercury is coming around for another lap. Next, we'll look at coronagraphs. As there have been some coronal mass ejections, let's take a better look here using the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center, Stereo A, and SOHO LASCO C3. So here we've paused it at 154 this morning. This was the most interesting CME of the past 24 hours, and you can see that it is on the opposite side of the sun here. So nowhere near Earth. It may look a little bit like a halo there or something like that. It is on the opposite side of the sun. For you new viewers, Earth would be off on this line from Stereo A's perspective because, again, it is located at Lagrangian 0.5. It's called Stereo A because it sees space weather ahead of the Earth. However, orbitally speaking, it is chasing the Earth. Hopefully that clears things up if you've got any misconceptions about what's going on with our coronagraphs. And let's let that play through. Please note the timestamps. These are not synced images. We do have 90 frames on each there, but they are not the same times. We'll show you some better imagery of that here. We just wanted to show that those CMEs, coronal mass ejections, are not earthly directed. So here is the past 24 hours in composite. You see great corroboration of the 304 angstroms wavelength with the coronal mass ejections and then showing up in the SOHO LASCO C2 and so on. Great stuff there. Let's zoom out a little bit to show some more ejecta. Soho Lasco C3 in blue, Soho Lasco C2 in red. Again, not earthly directed. Here's the full zoom out. Which brings me to an interesting point. So we're pretty critical of a channel called Suspicious Observers. You may have heard of them because Ben Davidson is a hack fraud. And the reason I say that is not because of his catastrophism nonsense. Maybe he believes that or maybe he doesn't believe it. I don't really know or care if he believes it, frankly, because he clearly doesn't understand physics. But the point is, Ben Davidson lost all of his credibility back in May of 2019. Why? Because he claimed there was no coronal mass ejection when there clearly was. We covered it on the channel, and Ben said on Facebook, "A good way to look stupid on the internet is to argue with Ben Davidson, the illustrious Ben Davidson, who thinks he's so smart he doesn't have to look and see whether or not there's a coronal mass ejection." What a fraud. That was when I became done with Ben's nonsense. Next, we'll look at filaments. And here is El Teide, Spain. Hulk Hogan filament still here intact. We've got another one trailing it there. This filament should be named as well. So here we've got the Hulk Hogan filament. This one here needs a name, as it is quite well defined also. So that's my next suggestion. The Stella Lesher filament up here is still intact. Thanks to everybody who's named filaments and joined us on Twitter. We are all over the internet at Smash-O-Mash. We've only got 374 followers on Twitter. It's absolutely pathetic. What a joke. We've been around on the platform since March of 2019. And yet, less than 400 followers with over 18,000, pushing 19,000 tweets. What a joke. A lot of people out there, a lot of influencers out there claiming that censorship has been fixed, yet shadow bans continue. So I don't know why people claim that Twitter's fixed. Elon hasn't fixed jack. He just took over a crime scene, grabbed the microphone, and left all the shadow bans in place. So fine job, Elon. Fine job. Free speech not fixed on Twitter or any place else. The censorship continues on in 2020-esque fashion. Let's show some more imagery here. And we've got the 304 angstroms wavelength. Oh no, you're seeing how the sausage is made, folks. Oh my God. The dangers of live streaming. So there is the past 24 hours in 304 angstroms by itself. The classic SDO wavelength ionized helium. And let's take a look at a closer time frame. Here are the past about 2.5 hours in 284 angstroms. So not the most common wavelength. We don't always show that. We do see a little bit of activity kicking up right here. I don't even think it's a sunspot. Maybe a new one forming there before our very eyes. And this brings us to our bonus features segment. So we do throw in some extra features here toward the end of the videos. We don't only bring you the most comprehensive space weather and detailed imagery of the sun. We also bring you bonus features like satellite charging hazards. Because a lot of people, they say, oh, but what's going on with the satellites? It's alien spacecraft. A lot of times it's charging. And we ain't got no charging, so expect good data from your satellites. Electron flux here lower than expected. And I was wrong with my forecast yesterday. If you'd like to correct me in the comments, feel free. Make sure you press the thumbs up. If you'd like us to do a live stream later today, if we get to 50 thumbs up, we will do a live stream on YouTube. That's the GOES electron flux for the past 3 days. And there is the forecast model. NOAA expecting flat levels come tomorrow. I was expecting higher levels come today, and I was wrong. NOAA was, well, closer than I was. And here's the one-year chart to put it in context. So we've seen a big dip in the electron flux here once again. Electron flux here back to very low levels, despite a lack of a coronal hole high-speed stream. We'll also take a look at the F layer of the ionosphere, since we've been seeing added anomalies here. So the F layer, the bridge between Earth and space, it's at about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here's the vibrational frequency. We show it daily because a lot of people talk about the ionosphere and apparently don't understand the physics of it or how space weather or, in fact, how Earth weather works. So we like to just cover facts and cite the anomalies and let the chips fall where they may. Yeah, facts. I know, very controversial. Oh my God, folks, we're so sorry that we've covered facts. It's very dangerous. Dangerous ideas and dangerous facts. Oh, noes. Here's the anomalygram, and seeing some quite high-pressure environments there. So, I mean, where you see a high-frequency anomaly, that's essentially a high-pressure zone. Where you see a low-frequency anomaly, that's essentially a low-pressure zone in the ionosphere. Keep in mind that the matter at that level is very diffuse. It is essentially space. I mean, 300 kilometers of altitude is no place to breathe. And I would also note that the South Atlantic anomaly looks like it has stabilized once again back over the South American continent. We've documented it's moving thousands of miles in the past couple of weeks, and it looks like it's snapped right back to where it was. So whether that's comforting or alarming to you, I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. And if you've got ideas as to how Earth's geomagnetic dynamo is generated, drop us a line in the comments or perhaps hit us up on smashomash.com/forum. There's a whole forum about geophysics. Anyway, there's the latest image. That's 11:30 Universal Time ionogram and 11:30 Universal Time anomalygram. We also show the total electron content forecast daily on the channel. We want our viewers to be aware of the most likely spots for GPS errors, as it's a 12,500-mile run from your GPS satellite to your handset. These are the most likely places to see GPS errors. So we can expect to see this getting more chaotic here since we've got very low levels of electron flux. The total electron content tends to be more chaotic during times of low electron flux. So don't be surprised to see this get a lot more disorganized here as the day goes on. Most GPS errors occur around the equator at noontime. That's the coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere, electrodynamics total electron content forecast. Next, look at sunspots in high res along with our colorized magnetogram. Let's take a look at this area right here. Since it does have a new sunspot group, that'll be named, that'll be 3209. And then up here you've got 3210. That's beta gamma class. There are the magnetic fields. Here's the full rock back. Don't be surprised to see some additional sunspots rise or form down here. That brings us to our meteorology segment. First, take a moment to visit our websites. If you haven't seen smashomash.com, our homepage, well, we welcome you to the neo-renaissance. So that is our homepage, smashomash.com. You can find all kinds of links there. Links to the Smash Team site. That's our own subscription services site. Also to Patreon, PayPal. Save on Hemp Lucid, by the way. And you can also find free gummies. You can find free samples for Hemp Lucid gummies on the Twitter feed. It's pinned to the top of the Twitter page. So again, another reason if you'd like some free handouts. Yeah, we're going to get you hooked. We're going to get you hooked on mushroom gummies, folks. Oh my God, it's terrible. Smashomash.com. Again, welcome to the neo-renaissance. Make sure you press like, subscribe, share, etc. Thanks for tolerating the pathetic and putrid censorship on the platform, YouTube viewers. If you're viewing on BitChute, make sure you view on YouTube. You're missing most of the content. We've got playlists over there that include stuff besides space weather and meteorology, like driving, riding, and pro tips do one thing. Terms defined, the diamond anvil too hard to smash, and lots more. Visit our playlist. You'll also find the 12 Days of Smashmas, original music from our record label, Golden Cat Productions. So check that out if you haven't. And let's take a look at Misery Index. Yeah, Misery Index. This is basically wind chill. And check it out. We've got portions of the U.S. here where the wind chill is colder than parts of Greenland. Feels like 32.3 below zero in Greenland. And right up here in between Lake Superior and Lake Michigan feels like 37 degrees below zero. Cold temperatures are definitely part of the news stories coming out at the moment. And of course, many people will tell you that the planet is so hot that it's cold. We've got some very high misery index here in Central Africa. Feels like 100 degrees down there. How about Antarctica? Feels like negative 41.6 degrees Fahrenheit there near the South Geographic Pole. Anyway, let's get to our regularly scheduled meteorology here. We usually show some sort of a feature to start the video out. There are the surface winds of the eastern world. We'll also show the jets all around the planet. Huge jet stream kink here, making for some very cold temperatures in southeastern Australia and some very hot temperatures around the Southern Ocean. Tasmania there, right in the middle of an upper level low. Here are the jet streams of the western world. And check it out, we've got a polar upper level high. You can see this clockwise rotation. That is a high pressure system there at the jet stream level. Chaotic jet stream in the southern hemisphere. It's all over the place. No coherent jet stream over most of South America. These are the surface winds of this side of the planet. Freezing spray warnings on Michigan, Lake Michigan, and Lake Superior. We'll get to it. These are the surface winds of the central world, and the jet streams are looking like this. Clouds and fog over the Americas are looking like this. Some real-time data from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. It's the 3.9 nanometer infrared radiation bandwidth, or I should say wavelength. Or I could say frequency. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, that's what's going on. Clouds and fog. And let's check out the weather.gov map. Blizzard warnings there in northern Maine. And also some wind chill warnings and some freezing spray advisories around the Great Lakes. We've scrolled down briefly to show you the key. And all 50 states of AUSA, the allegedly United States of America. If your location is lit, click it on weather.gov, and let's do some forecasts. This is the GFS forecast for temperature anomaly in degrees Celsius for the next 72 hours. And there's a big warm-up coming to most of the eastern portion of the country. East of the Rockies, there's going to be a big warm-up after a big cold down. So a lot of relief there for those extreme cold temperatures. Your deep freeze will lead to a rapid thaw. Perhaps some great bike riding coming up in the next 3 days. Next, your GFS pressure and precipitation forecast for the next 72 hours also. Heavy snows coming to eastern California once again. Also, large portions of the Pacific Northwest, they're getting inundated with wet snow and rain. So here is your positive snow depth change forecast in inches based on the same model, the GFS. Expecting like 2 more feet of snow to fall in portions of California. As if they don't have enough base to go skiing and or snowboarding. We'll also show the Euro model. So this is the GFS model for new snow over the next 3 days. And there is the Euro model. You can see a little bit different there. Fairly in agreement with each other. There's the GFS for the next 3 days of new snow. There is the Euro for the next 3 days of new snow. And let's continue on to look at the NASA GOES lightning mapper. We did see some terrestrial lightning here around the Florida Panhandle, as well as off the coast of South Carolina. Let's see what's going on in terms of real-time lightning maps, courtesy of lightningmaps.org. Maybe we ought to get that on our cycling jerseys. We should contact blitzachtung.org and see if they'd like to sponsor our cycling team, since severe thunderstorms cancel bike races. There could be a market need for that at the moment. No terrestrial strikes in the U.S. Quite a bit of lightning there in the eastern Mediterranean. Continuing on for days, it's been stormy in the eastern Mediterranean. Next, our U.S. Doppler radar map. There's some real-time ground-based Doppler radar systems measuring vertical motion of particles in the air column, particles like ice crystals and water droplets. There is shortwave radiation showing clouds and fog. It's too dark to use the visible satellite, so we use the shortwave radiation. And there is water vapor. It looks like clear skies over most of Texas, as there is a high pressure zone centered on the Lone Star State. Moisture creeping in here over Montana there into Wyoming and into the Pacific Northwest. Here's your recap to close things out. We covered space, we covered Earth, we even covered cosmic ray flux. There's U.S. Doppler radar. There is clouds and fog. Again, clear skies over most of Texas. And there is water vapor. That should clear up any issues with your Doppler. You can see those systems are going to continue to move about due east because they're getting about a little bit of an impulse here from this dry mass of air. So that is essentially a high-pressure system, relatively speaking. Remember, folks, dry air is more massive than moist air. And remember, folks, the Smash News Network is more massive than any other news network covering things like space weather and meteorology. So settle for nothing less. Press like, subscribe, share, etc. We'll do a live stream if we get 50 likes later today. We'll see you soon. And may that solar wind be at your back. Facts stated in this video suppressed for your convenience by big tech organizations. Opinions expressed in this video not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in news.